This is an open letter to the Sane Society. Uh, there was a discussion that came up on Twitter, just caught a glimpse of it, and put my 2 cents in. I think I like to, put a little more investment in it. Put a little more investment in it than the 2 cents because the topic was interesting. Here's a little more investment. Um, Time. The topic was Asian woman just broke through. The Asian woman just broke through the the top earners uh, per hour or whatever, as employees of some places, some corporations, as their employees. Asian woman just broke through the highest earning barrier and went above the white men, which have been the leading leaders of income uh, for the foreseeable past, for the recent history, and are probably going to be in foreseeable future. But Asian women just broke through it, or they're neck and neck with white men in terms of income, salary per year, as an employee. And you're like, oh, okay, I was expecting that. And I explained a little underneath it that, yeah, it does make sense because the only other group that are welcome in rich white men club, rich white old boys club, the only people who are actually beside rich white old boys, the only other people who are actually welcomed in the rich old white boy network club, the old boy network, which happens to be white. The only other people who are welcome are Asian, sexy Asian women. And let's face it, sexy Asian women, Asians don't crack. First, they take care of themselves. Second, their biology is such that they don't age. So and especially not as much as white people age in hot climates. Especially white people in climate age real fast. White people who stay in Sweden, believe me, they age well. But white people who go into hot climates, they don't age well because the harshness of the sun. Based on that criteria, Asians age well. So my point is this: that rich old boy network, who just happen to be white, rich old boy network is okay with leaving the door open for you know Asian women, and the reason is obvious. It's sexual. So there, there is there is no question that there is competence there. This is my thing. This is my point, that there is no question that there is competent there. If they're competent, that goes a long way. More competent than average, that goes a long way. But it's not, they're not competent in the general sense. They're competent in certain, from their driving, which is drives you crazy, to, there are areas that they're not competent at, but the thing is, the areas that they are competent at, those areas are very much appreciated by old boy networks. And one of the comments was that, yeah, because these women are more female, more womanly. This is how the guy put it. Yeah, that's exactly it. They are more womanly, and as men, they like to cuddle next to a womanly woman than a macho woman. So that goes without saying. So my point is this: that the, s- still the reason they get there, they have competence, but who leaves the door open is the old boy network, who just happen to be white, because this is the only other, in the, you know both figuratively and in reality, you know beautiful women have access to the old boy network. Let's put it this way, let's generalize it. Beautiful women have access to the old boy network, which happens to be white. So you see where I'm going with this. So my point is this: that's exactly proves the idea that there is an old boy network, and it just happens to be of European background. This old boy network, who's happens to be usually of the pink skin variety on your planet. Wherever it's formed, in South Africa, in North America, in South America, and in Australia, this network of the white people who made it well, and then they stay within their own networks, and very few go in. Some are thrown out, but very few will get to go in. That's the whole idea of fraternities comes about. And universities which are also very fraternity oriented. What does fraternity mean? It's sort of like, even universities have policies that, yes, we give 80% of our seats goes to children of the alumni. So the university itself is a fraternity, because in the fraternity, if you had your father or grandfather in the fraternity, you have a 80% of chance of getting into the fraternity, again, because your seat was reserved. The universities are behaving the same way. So the universities have become a sort of fraternity, and that's the price. The price tag of education is one of the reasons it's so high, is because each one is trying to pretend that it's a bigger fraternity than the other one. Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge and Yale, Princeton and Princeton and Princeton and Princeton. Yeah, there is an MIT in India as well. It's just called Manipal Institute of Technology. MIT, same initials. But this one costs this much and that one costs that much. Why? Because it's a fraternity business. It's a club. You're either invited or you're not. You can't invite yourself. That's the whole idea behind citizenship. The whole idea behind the citizenship is you have to be invited. Unless you're white. You have to be invited unless you're white. You see, are you kidding me? That's the whole idea. You're not included unless you're invited. And if you're white, it helps. That's the fraternities. That's the whole idea of Asian women raising above even the white old boy network in terms of income for their work. But on the other hand, you look at it, this is about income for work. That means in terms of employees, who had to get paid by his employer, they were the highest earners. The Asian women, as I said, as we said, they have confidence, but the sexuality of the thing allows them, and a small entrance into the old boy network, which happens to be white, which happens to be another bigger form of fraternity, which have your universities have become fraternities. Beside the fraternities, the university itself has become a fraternity. You have to be invited. You have to be invited to get an education. Are you serious? No, no, no. It's not about the education. It's about the fraternity. And it's about the idea that Shakespeare, that's it. He's the top of the line. He's the shit, as they say in the hood. It's about that. It's about the recognition that English, of course, is the best language of all. It has become the most common language because of so many lands the British have destroyed and then became the owner of. People who live on the land, they don't easily want to give up their land. They just don't. There is this connection that animals have with their territory. And if they have paid with blood, sweat, and tears for that territory, they work their ass off to get a piece of territory, they make sure they piss on every corner. And they keep watch of the territory. That's how animals are, territorial animals, such as human beings. Unless they consider you as part of their tribe, first of all, they will not give you any territory unless they perceive you to be as part of the tribe. That's the whole idea behind saying that the Chinese should not own land in North America. People of Chinese citizenship or Chinese dual citizenship or Chinese, or the guy from Singapore who the guy keeps telling him, no, you're Chinese, I can see you, you're Chinese, you have tight eyes. And the guy keeps saying that, no, no, I'm not Chinese, I'm Singaporean. And the guy keeps saying that, no, I can see your eyes, they're tight, they're Chinese, they don't look like mine in the mirror. So, and they don't look like my brother or my sister's eye, so you're Chinese. And the guy keeps screaming, dude, it's called Singapore, it's a different country. It's like two people from two different dimensions speaking, and they are in two different dimensions. One is on this side of the planet, one is on that side of the planet. I don't think one side of the planet should be able to dictate to other sides of the planet how they should take shit. Take a shit, or eat, or have sex, or I don't think one side of the planet should dictate their own norm in their own space-time continuum. One side of the planet is pretending that the norms that they have in their own space-time continuum should be the norms of all of the tribes on planet Earth at the same time. And if they're not doing it like we are doing it, we're going to go over there and teach them how to do their thing. And then if there's an international body that comes out and says, okay, no, 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 we are at the wrong. We have been trying to teach the rest of the planet democracy. You don't understand. We have been, we have been trying to bring them good democracy. We are trying to bring them good democracy. And the whole international union is basically in arms, up in arms, saying that what gives you the right to think that your form of government is the best form of government? And who gives you the right to try to enforce your form of government down every little region on the planet? What gives you that right? Because we are special. We are back to why Shakespeare is the best. And even if you're, Chinese, or I'm sorry, Taiwanese, but you have, gone to Oxford, or, Yale, or one of those, at least got a master's in one of these fraternities, then, then you feel closer to Western central perspectives in things. But what you look in the mirror, you look Eastern. So you have been told that the Western centric form of perspective in is the best. You just look from the people who practice a very different thing in their own space-time continuum. In their own space-time continuum, things grow and things fall apart. Who is at what stage of their cohesion, what stage of their anarchy? Should they all be kept in cages, or should they all be having their own private island? That's up to the nations and the United Nations to decide. This is not up to one country to decide for everybody else. One fraternity, a Harvard fraternity or a Yale fraternity deciding how everybody else on the planet should live. And when I say fraternity, I mean the fraternity. I mean, there's an open door you know, between Northern Europe and Northern America, and there is an open door policy with Israel as well. So it's sort of, because it's racial. You look at it that they're all white. So there is an open door policy with other white people, but when it comes to people of other races, if you're already inside, that's cool, hopefully, and you're okay. But if you are not of Northern European or European ancestry, then you might be problematic. Then you're Chinese. And if I can't identify Singapore on the map, I still look at you and you look Chinese. I keep saying you're Chinese, because to me you're Chinese. You might be living in Singapore, you might be living in Uganda, but you're still Chinese, and somehow because of that, you're under suspicion. You're under suspicion, and you know why? Because you have a different language. You don't look white. You don't look, like you're part of our tribe. That's a dangerous path to go on. I mean, they keep Europeans who have settled in the colonies keep passing laws on how to uh, force people from the colonies, force people out of colonies, force people that they don't want, those who don't belong to the fraternity, those who don't belong to the race. These people who don't belong to our race, we don't, we're not really interested in accommodating in our piece of land, in as neighbors. Does it ring any bell? Chinese can't have land here in Australia, and the Chinese can't have land here in England, and the Russians can't have here land in England. What happened? Up to yesterday, Russians were okay to own out of proportion price real estate in England. So you took their money, sold them as much as real estate as you could in England, then you closed the door and said, nope, we are no longer interested in your money. And besides, whatever you bought here, you don't no longer own. is confiscated, and the proceeds of which we are going to send to Ukraine to fight you. The British have allowed all these foreigners to come and buy real estate on their land. At one point, they draw the line and say, "Oh, have have drawn the line and saying that, oh no, did we say you can own land in our land? No, you can't. I'm sorry, it's confiscated, and the proceeds of which they don't, they don't have a fire sale. They keep the price, but now the owner is Windsor Castle, and whoever occupies Windsor Castle, and that property is sold at market value, and the money is used to, you know, we use that money to feed our arms industry. So now we send arms over there to kill some of your people. This is British. This is the British Ukraine Russia situation. Are you serious, folks? This is a theater. It is theater. It is theater. It's just that it's a sad theater in which it's a real theater in which people are getting killed. ¿Por qué? People are getting killed for real in many parts of the world, which the sky is also blue and life could be good. What's the problem? All you have to do is look at, if you want to find out who belongs where, look at the color of their skin. And there are maps there out there in the real world. There are maps there which shows about how the races on Earth are spread, but then you can't take all the wealth to the northern hemisphere and leave the southern hemisphere high and dry, and then not expect the people of the southern hemisphere to try to come to the northern hemisphere. You can't do that. You can't take the wealth and leave back the people. You create you break the equilibrium. Every land has some wealth, has some filth, but when you even go in and attack and destroy them and force more of them into your land, then when they arrive, the people who already live on your land say, we don't want the newcomers. Where should the newcomers go? Into the ocean? Because you're certainly not doing anything good to their land. You invade their land to change the tribal order. You invade the land to change when I say tribal order, I'm not talking about putting Shias in charge. I'm talking about the first time that you put Sunnis in charge in the beginning of the 20th century, in the end of 19th century. The white people from the northern hemisphere went and decided that Saddam is a good option. Somebody decided. He was backed. Why? What it has to do with you, except that you feel you have the right to enforce your will upon others. But you think it's this fraternity that you have. Has the right to, just because we are smarter. I mean, aren't you fighting this idea with your animals, saying that just because we are smarter, we shouldn't hunt every animal to extinction? You have come with laws to prevent your animals from going extinct, although you can. So the idea of that I am a higher form of life, therefore that gives me the right to, you know, kill or just have the lower form of lives become roadkill. Or did I say roadkill? I meant collateral damage. So here's the thing. You, I mean, yes, I believe that in Western Hemisphere, in white people land, where, which happens to be almost all of Northern Hemisphere and some of Southern Hemisphere for some reason, uh, is a fraternity. NATO has NATO is a fraternity. The problem is fraternity, folks. What church you belong to, what school you went to, or what race you belong to. I mean, if you squeeze them, every race has you know, intelligent people within it. If you really squeeze them, some more than others, but the idea that one race should, provide education camps or provide military camps to another race somewhere else because you know peace can only be brought by brute force. I love the idea that peace can only be brought by brute force. Like, okay. And these are not the monkeys. So my point is this, folks. The fraternity, the fraternities, the fraternity mentality is causing all this. The fraternity mentality. And nothing can be more uh, uh, exhibiting more fraternity in mentality than saying that, okay, we only allow people of one persuasion, whether it be culturally or racially. We, in other words, we worship Shakespeare. We worship Shakespeare. We think he's the second son of God. He's the other son of God. And there are other sons of God, but they're all. I can assure you, they were all born in Western Hemisphere. They were all born white. All these, like the fucking Dalai Lamas. It's like they never woke up in the morning and say we're going to find our Dalai Lama in Uganda. They say, oh, the Dalai Lama, the spirit has gone to the boy in that another village that is in that small little Himalayan town, city, state. So that mentality is the mentality of fraternity. That Dalai Lama is not going to be black or white or you know red. It's going to be a Nepalese, believe me. So the point is, this is fraternity. Shakespeare and any other people we can add to that group who just happen to be at the possession of the humans information within their time. You see this this flame of consciousness with regards to trying to do good, going forward with technology and blah 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 blah, is passed hand to hand in different parts of your planet when one has emphasized education more and another one hasn't emphasized education more. When I say education, education for all, I mean education for all. If one side does not value education for all for free, that doesn't value a good future. Education for all should be free if you want a better society. If you don't want a better society, then education should be very expensive. Salute to the expensive education. Expensive education, why? Because it's a fraternity. You're not paying for the education, you're paying for the fraternity. Oh, he's a graduate of Harvard. Who? George W. Bush? Yes. Okay, so it was the fraternity that graduated. It wasn't a university, it wasn't a place that you learn shit. It was a place that you meet people. The fraternity. You become an alumni. The fraternity. People will give their right arm in order to get in. It's a fraternity. But if you do get in, then you are part of a fraternity. That's the problem. The fraternity at Oxford thinks Shakespeare is top of the line. The fraternity in Oxford doesn't think Samar Malar Tabur in Africa is top of the line in terms of, you know, literature. Because it's a fraternity. Even their universities has turned into a fraternity. So in this fraternity, we consider Shakespeare as God. Do you have a problem with that? Well, yes and no. Because it's a fraternity. This fraternity mentality, tribal mentality. I love you, white people, but as much as you keep saying we don't see race, okay, but your concept is fraternity. In our fraternity, Asian ladies are always welcome. That's the motto of our fraternity as rich white men's club, rich boy networks, as rich, in parentheses, white boys network. Asian women are always welcome, therefore Asian women rise in through the ranks. They are competent, many of them, but if you're a female and you're in a corporate setting, you rise through the rank. If you look good, you rise through the ranks well. Just because the boss likes the cut of your jib. Good for the boss and good for you. But that leaves the rest of us on planet Earth who are not, sexy for the boss out of the corporate game. And that's where the story about Elon Musk comes about. The story that, he was white, but, he went to get a job, and obviously he was talented, but he went to get a job and he was given a once over in the lobby of a Netscape or Net something that he was trying to become an employee of. And he got a once over in the lobby and he left and he never came back because he didn't belong to probably not as good a clubs that they were expecting. And in this case, I'm not even going towards universities. I'm thinking with regards to, the real clubs, the real clubs that those rich white folks form within that, you know, coastal California community. The intelligent ones rise through the ranks, but they are all, you know, they know each other. They mostly, went to the same parties, and they rise through the ranks, and there are a lot of intelligent people in California because attracted so many people and so many intelligent people have met. So the population of very intelligent has increased. But my point is this: fraternity. The problem is fraternity. The mindset that, you know, in that issue with Elon Musk is that Elon, although being white, but he didn't go to the same parties as the broomstick who interviewed him with regards to a job in one of these companies that he liked. So he basically said, okay, no problem, I go start my own company. That was his story. But the idea is not only it has to be the right universities, but also the right high school, then the right kindergarten. This is a class system. And in a class system, there is always a place in a class system which, in this case, white are on top at this point in time space on your planet. Yeah, the Asian massage lady is always welcome. The Asian secretary is always welcome. The Asian assistant is always welcome. And let me tell you about it. Being an assistant to somebody, that's all it takes. In most of these jobs, competence is important, but being a assistant, as a you know wealthy white man, I like to have Asian assistants. And what does assistant do? Is all day follows you and helps you get through your day and keep your appointments. As so, but most of the business is learned through proximity. And for a personal assistant to one of these rich people, most of the names, the phone numbers, the contacts are taken, observed, not taken, observed through contact, through proximity. So when the nice, sexy Asian lady leaves this gentleman as his personal assistant, now she has a head start. Nowhere to start that is not bottom. Nowhere to start that is not bottom. She can start, you know. She had to take it up the ass once in a while, but now she has enough information about the game that the boss was playing. Now she has enough information that she can play that same game but in a smaller scale. She can go on her own. If she has intelligence, she will succeed. And therefore, income comes about. My point is this, that, you know, I come across a lot of, beautiful women in positions that they really didn't have any business to be in. And, their beauty got them there because somebody fancied them, somebody fantasized about them. Maybe nothing ever happened, nothing, physical, but, just the womanly women would provide a kind of confidence in the man who was with them most of their day, that gives the kind of confidence that Mr. George wants when he wants to go into a meeting. So secretary better be very sexy and very nice to the boss and make him feel very manly. And that's where the secretary comes in to or assistant. Many of these, she could be an engineer, she could be have a master's degree in something or other, and she becomes the assistant to one of these people who belong to rich old white boys network. As an assistant, learns the rope, and eventually, after the guy dies or before the guy dies, she goes on her own and she starts her own business or gets employed with the right people. Need I say more? You can make it racial, but it doesn't have to be. If white women were also as feminine, as womanly as this guy put it in his comment, if white women and black women and other women behave more in a more feminine way and less butch, then they would be as desirable as the Asian women are. But still doesn't solve the problem that the sexuality is getting you through the door. That doesn't solve that problem. Doesn't solve for that problem that the reason sexy, I'm sorry, did I say sexy? I meant women, Asian women are near the top of the income ladders because old white men like to be in their presence. And who can blame them? But then we reach the point that the problem is not that there are networks. The problem is networks. Networking is fraternity. Networks are fraternities. Belonging to fraternities gives you a inside lane towards the prize, which is, I guess, more power and more money. Being part of a fraternity gives you an inside edge in order to accumulate more wealth and more power. Because the fraternity goes a long way. As long as everybody keeps together and we fight together, we go a long way. A long way towards what? Anyway, but the point is this: at least the people have to believe. The people have to have this perception that there is Ukrainians not having a goal in mind. They're not, if they don't have a goal in mind, they won't fight. This goal has to be, a lot of times these goals have to be invented for them, you know, about these myths about their race, about their culture. These myths has to be financed. And who financed the recent myths in Ukraine that they're somehow more special than their Russian neighbors? Who started the bad behavior towards their neighbor? It was first the Ukrainians. Why? Because the Anglo-Saxons, that's another fraternity, the Anglo-Saxons went to Ukraine and, you know, passed around cookies, showed support, money. So, so you can be part of our camp. Fuck you. Go die. You can be part of our camp. It's sort of like going into a family home and telling the daughter that, come with me, you don't need to be part of your father's camp. Come with me. And, the daughter is very small. I mean, what is the size of a crane compared to the size of, Uncle Sam's managers? The structure that Uncle Sam's managers manage is very big and Ukraine is very small. The empire is very big and Ukraine is very small. So Ukraine can be, and Ukraine is right geographically right next to Russia. Imagine there is Russia, there is Ukraine, the daughter. They have the mother-daughter kind of relationship between Moscow and Ukraine. There is history there. There is such a relationship that you can consider them as mother and daughter. Russia being the mother and Ukraine being the daughter, or vice versa. So we go in over there, and we mean Anglo-Saxons or somebody acting on behest of the Anglo-Saxons, the fraternity, a racial fraternity. Somebody on behalf of this racial fraternity, someone on behalf of this racial fraternity that are the Anglo-Saxons have gone and passed cookies there, around there, and encouraged people to rise up and break the system. So they had a system. They had to rise up and break it to achieve what exactly? To achieve oneness with God, bring anarchy because we have to be in charge, even if that means by force. Finance the extreme group of people who are very extreme because they're very racist. That's why we call them extreme, because they're very racist. So the racist Nazis who are financed by somebody in Uncle Sam's managerial position, for what purpose exactly? What what did this investment have to achieve? This investment, what did it have to achieve? Investment in ultra nationalist ideas investment in ultra-nationalist ideas in Ukraine, what did it have to achieve? We are funding a fraternity in Ukraine, which is a very extreme fraternity, is a very racist fraternity. That's what the Azov battalions are. As we speak, Mr. Boris Johnson just posted a picture taking a picture with an Azov battalion flag in front of him. Mr. Boris Johnson. He is Anglo-Saxon. He he's basically trying to take the daughter, Ukraine, and breaking the door and telling Russia that he's taking the daughter into NATO. When two countries are like Russia and Ukraine, they're like mother and daughter. And the daughter is a smaller one, Ukraine. So the fucking British, with the backing of the great minds of who are in charge of Uncle Sam's business, they have decided that they want to take the daughter to bed without permission from the mother. They have actually they went and distributed sweets to the daughter to come to bed with them. Miss Nolan, the State Department, and their idea to go and encourage finance. Mr. McCain has so many pictures taken with the this fraternity of very racist people in Ukraine. Why do you fund a very racist fraternity? Is your fraternity also racist? Israel is another racist fraternity. The idea that the secular and the religious Jewish people are living in Israel, that should give you the idea that it's a fraternity, and it's mostly a racial fraternity because they're mostly white. It's like 90% they're white. They're white. There is a video an Indian guy made that they were trying to go to a couple of clubs. There was a white woman, she was Jewish, and this Indian guy, whether they were in a relationship or not, or just pretending, the point was, it just showed that this guy with his Jewish girlfriend, the guy was brown from India or somewhere. Not even to do with Islam. He was from fucking India and he was Hindu. And they were trying to enter clubs together, this brown guy with this white Jewish girl, and the clubs in Israel would not let them in. Whichever city it was, I don't know. It was Israel. They were speaking, the language was all over. So this should tell you that it's a fraternity of white people first. Israel is a fraternity of white people first. Then it's a Jewish state and this and that and the other. First is a fraternity of white people. And if you have any doubt whether Jewish people are white or not, uh, please look at any picture that any Israeli leader, more or less, has taken with right next to an American president or a European prime minister or president. When they're standing next to each other and everything is the same, they look the same color. All the top echelon, the wasp of the, if you can call it the wasp, of the not the not, I guess, not the Protestant part, but the wasp of the Israel belongs to a fraternity. It's a fraternity of white people. And when you can say that none of them, the skin comp, that's why I just read the article that was quite clear that Israel has a very high skin cancer rate, very high. Do you want any more clearer message than that? That you you folks are white and this is a land that in order to survive on it you have to be very brown. That's why you're getting the skin cancer. Isn't that enough of a giveaway, scientific wise? And you guys are supposed to be intelligent, right? Scientifically, the high rate of skin cancer says, yeah, maybe I don't belong. Maybe my ancestors belong to once a year, like the Muslims do. Once a year, you should go and visit it and spend some money on it, just like the Muslims go to Kaaba. But you should do that. Go home and return every year, spend some money, feel good about yourself, and go back home. That's the way Israel should be treated. That's the way Israel Palestine model. That piece of land should be treated as, let the native browns, run the place, hopefully with some kind of fucking competence. But white people out. You go home. You want to come back once a year, visit as a tourist, please do. Spend 1 month a year here. But you're the visitors. You belong to the northern hemisphere. And the high skin cancer rate should give away the game. So my point is this, folks: the fraternities are killing your planet. They're killing culture. Your fraternities are killing people, killing fraternities of Northrop Grumman and fraternities of the top brass, the decision makers of Pentagon, the fraternities of Harvard and Yale, and the fraternities of White House and Senate. These fraternities are not are not you know are not good. At the end, these fraternities, when you encourage fraternities and invest in fraternities, eventually these fraternities are going to get into a war-like situation because they all keep beating their chests and looking for an enemy, wanting to expand their territory. Like John McCain said, Russia is a gas station with nuclear weapons. That's the kind of fraternity talk. That's the kind of fraternity talk that you should expect from a system. And then these fraternities, I have a feeling that pretty much decide the elections, decide who should be Democratic Party candidate and who should be the Republican Party candidate. These fraternities, because money is with fraternities. We already went over this. The rich old white boys network. It's a fraternity. They invest in rich white boys, and sometimes in a slave boy here and there. As long as the slave boy speaks our language, we want to, you know, we want to shit over there and we want to eat over here. Well, folks, if you want to eat over here, you better start educating your own people instead of trying to educate others in ways of democracy. You're pretending that you're there to educate others in ways of how to run themselves, how they run themselves, whether politically, economically, how they run themselves. As the French say, people deserve the government they get, or else they wouldn't get that government. They want that government, and this is not a put down or a put up. In the time space continuum, they, whoever you want to put in they category, they are the way they are based on their cultural characteristics, their historical characteristics, and their geographical characteristics. This results into the form of government that they can handle, and as well as where they are in terms of whether they are on their way up in terms of being informed to make intelligent decisions, or they're on their way down in terms of not being informed and making stupid decisions. If you haven't invested in your people's education, and you make investment in your people's education is very expensive, then that means you are actually speeding up your your way down if you make education very expensive. Why expensive? Because we like fraternities. Again, Harvard can name their price because it's a fraternity. We accept alumni, and we only accept people who have made as at least as much money as our alumni, or stolen as much money as our alumni have, as was the case with my sister. The point is this, of my sister's daughter. The point is this: the money has to come from somewhere for you to be be in the club, in this alumni business. The money has to be there for you to be in the fraternity. And as we have seen over and over and over again, the leaders in the democracy, all of them come from a fraternity, one fraternity or another. You know, the Massachusetts White Boys Network, Rich White Boys Network, or Texas Rich White Boys Network. And the thing that the Bushes did, Bush Senior did, or his father did, was that they were Massachusetts or Maine, somewhere, rich white boys network, and they moved to Texas and became part of Texas. And it was specifically because they saw a bigger population and more districts, and better conditions are better to rise through the society, because there's more opportunity, because it's bigger, more population. Texas, Maine. So my point is this: it's like being part of a fraternity. You have to be in this piece of land, go to this, live in this neighborhood, go to this university, and be part of that fraternity, sorority. Mrs. Harris, she's a sorority girl, and she's proud of it. She should be, she shouldn't be, I don't know. But the problem is the fraternities, and how much power the fraternities wield in the system, which is based on fraternities. And tribal mentality, anyone? You can't get away with it. Have a very diff humans have a lot of difficulty still with being territorial, because being territorial, it comes from scarcity. The less you have, the hungrier you may go. So if scarcity is solved by some kind of free energy, if scarcity is solved, then the idea of not having and dying of not having, if that can go away, the society might go much farther. If people are fed, they will not go to war. Right now, there is no war. There was no war necessary. But as soon as the Germans start going hungry, they are willing to go to war with Russia. What started it? In Ukraine. Some cocksucker who knows. He was shaking his money maker one day and the president the next day, and 500,000 of people are already dead, and the rest of, and this becomes a lever, if you will, that will push the rest of Europe into hunger and eventually war between themselves. This time it's going to be apparently with Russia. Who started it? Some people, some Anglo-Saxons in North America and England, who decided that yes, we should invest in a very extreme fraternity in Ukraine that is very Nazi-ish, very racist. Now again, as a brown man, you put an Ukrainian and a Russian next to each other, and you ask me whether they are, you know, they're different. I wouldn't be able to tell. Not even after they start speaking. These people have to kill each other because, apparently the fraternities have decided that it's time for war. So first start something, break the trade lines and trade lines, and after that hunger sets in, and when hunger sets in, everybody's willing to go to war. If you're not hungry, you will not fight. Only hungry people fight. The British have decided, the Anglo-Saxons have decided that people should go hungry. So they would fight. So they're promoting extreme ideas, investing in nationalist ideas. Mr. Boris Johnson goes and takes a picture with an Azov battalion flag. And the folks at the NPR are saying, yes, 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 very good, very good. We salute you. And things are so bad that the Anglo-Saxons have decided that Bill Maher should get into bed with the personality from the good-looking woman from Fox News. What was her name? Kelly something. The Anglo-Saxon fraternity have decided that even if Bill Maher has to get into bed with Mrs. Kelly, it has to be done to push the message for our fraternity that we are right and they're wrong. Let's go kill each other. Fraternity of Israel, Europeans in West Asia, fraternity of European, apparently ultra-nationalist Ukrainians in Ukraine, fraternity of ultra-nationalist Taiwanians in Taiwan, fraternity of ultra-nationalist Japanese, and pretty soon you have another world war. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sorry, I just see this in terms of Anglo-Saxon ideas. I can't say it any other way, because when they say rule-based order, they mean are we want to rule, our rule. We give you orders to carry out. This is how Anglo-Saxons see the situation. We tell you what's good and you carry it out. And you can't object. We will tell you what is good and what is bad. And we know because we have taken great care of our own people in terms of education, housing, and health. We have taken such a great care of our own people that we are willing to go over there and fight them to bring the same care to them. Yes, the people of NPR keep congratulating stupid decisions.